الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم المبعوث رحمة للعالمين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهديه إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته وحياكم الله. I pray you all well.
وعليكم السلام أستاذة.
Okay, inshallah we start as usual with a time for questions and answers. So if you had time to look through past two lectures, we started talking about preparing your path to return. Are there any questions, reflections regarding? Do you have ways to take notes? Or a way, at least one way to take notes? Okay, so I'll just give a minute. If there is any question, please go ahead. Okay, so I have a question for you. So from what we learned in the previous two sessions, what is it that should be in our mind to prepare for the returning path? Who would like to share?
I think it's more connected to the hadith, where we'll be questioned about how we spent our youth, our time, our wealth, and our knowledge. So once you reflect on those questions, that will help you plan the way your return journey should look, or your path should look.
Barakallah feek, jazakallah khairan. So my sister is reminding us with hadith, Muhammad sallallahu said there are a few things that everybody will be asked about. عن عمره فيما أفناه, about his life, how did he use it, consume it, waste it. About his youth, شبابه فيما أبلاه, about his wealth, how did he earn it, how did he spend it, about his knowledge, and about his body. So reflecting on that, remembering that everyday life will help you to have more clarity on what you do. And on a question, what about what I did before? Then you still have time to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you. You still can fix what is done from before, even by repenting, asking for forgiveness, saying sorry, or apologizing, returning rights. So this, inshallah, as long as you're still here, you still can fix. Jazakallah khairan. Another answer, please, from what you learned in the last two sessions. How do you prepare, or to have in mind how to prepare for your path? Okay. Ahsanti. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to be in Jannah. He is Al-Kareem. Even if you intend something good, you didn't do it, you still get rewarded for it, and those rewards can multiply. You intend something bad, you don't have to do it, because you're going to be rewarded if you didn't do it. So that keep you mindful of your intentions, of your actions. Ahsanti, mashallah. Very good idea, my sister, to take note of your main daily activities or tasks. What do you do and how can you prepare that? How can you bring your akhirah into that? So you do it purely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to seek his forgiveness, to seek his pleasure with you. We return to everyday Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Are you saying Rabbani? No. I'm trying to read the word. What you want to say? Yes, Rabbani, like my Lord that educated me or brought me, right? So he is the one, Ahsanti. No need for sorry, Jazakallah khairan. He is the one that I'm returning to. So he is the one that looked after me and still until this moment. So reflect on where you were, how you came to the place where you are right now. How did you arrive to this place where you are, city you are, house you are, your situation in life? How did you reach there? And you will see, looking at the journey behind you, like what you did before, it should inspire you to praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to thank him, and to prepare for the next step. Jazakumullah khairan. Today, inshallah, we continue looking into the path of returning. And first hadith I'll share with you, inshallah, is this one. And it's in Sahih, and it's in Riyadh al-Salihin, and it's riwayat Muslim. So, عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال. So Abu Hurairah narrated that the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم said, إذا مات الإنسان, when the human dies, انقطع عمله إلا من ثلاث. His deeds, what he does every day, stops. انقطع is cut, is ended, except from three. So, as long as we are here, we still can get up to pray Dhuhr, or already prayed it, we still can read Quran before we go to sleep, we still can advise someone with goodness, we still can forgive someone or ask for forgiveness. All these are called a'mal, deeds. But once the person dies, those things stop. Except three, they continue running, they continue going on. So it's really important to understand what are those and how to keep that going, because that, as the person is already not around, their deeds are still growing. So the first one is sadaqatun jariyah. Sadaqah. What does sadaqah mean? Do we know the word sadaqah? Share with me, please, on the chat if you know, or if you want to speak. A charity. If we don't use charity, and you can break it down into simpler or practical way, what is a charity? To give charity, to continuous charity. Oh, you mean jariyah, continuous, running or continuous. Okay, but what is charity? Not mean to ask for the obvious. No, mean to understand what is it. To give for the sake of Allah. To give to poor. To do something with sincerity, sadaqah. Okay. And the sincerity part my sister is referring to is because sadaqah and the word sidq are related. So you see now when you understand that, remember sidq from last week. الصدق يهدي إلى البر. Saying truth and being always on the truth side that guides you and show you the way to al-birr, and we understood what the birr was. So the word sadaqah and the word sidq are related. So because when you give the sadaqah, it's kind of you're confirming, you're proving your honesty and sincerity. So sadaqatun jariyah, what is the sadaqah jariyah? Can you give me examples of sadaqah jariyah? Remember, the person is not around. Building a masjid or participating in building a masjid. So every time a person uses that masjid or that carpet that you paid for, or pick up the mushaf that you put there, or the suwak that you put there, every time they pick it, you get the reward. Planting a tree, a water well, a water pump, and always think about action that benefits others. Yes, action that benefit others and continue to benefit others. So these are examples, but one of the things that sometimes we don't think about a lot, teaching how to read Quran, but how are you? You see, the person is already not around. How is that going to continue? You see, it's a sadaqah jariyah. They pick it up and read it. Okay, so you leave. So this is going to come a little bit later. علم ينتفع به. So this is not the sadaqah jariyah type. It's more علم ينتفع به. But sadaqah jariyah is not. It's a book. Let's imagine it's a book you didn't author, you didn't write. It's a method you didn't teach. But a book like Nur al-Bayan or An-Nuraniyah, books like those, when they are available, children and people that don't know how to speak the language can pick them up with the help of a teacher, and they can read the alif ba ta and learn how to read the huruf al-Arabiya. Therefore, they learn how to read Quran. So if you invest some money now, when you are around, invest some money to print those books, or to put them in a masjid, or to put them in a school. If you invest in that, that is becoming, after you're not around, that becomes your sadaqah jariyah. Because everyone is going to pick that book that you provided. You didn't author the book, but you provided means to be reached for that book. What does you mean? This is example, my sister, something you do on behalf of someone else who passed away. No, we're not talking about that. We're not talking who can do something on behalf of me when I'm not around. No, what can I do when I'm still around? So when I'm not around anymore, my deeds are still counting on. You see, my deeds are still growing. So we're not looking for what you do on behalf of someone else that's not around. No, we're saying, what do you do? We're talking about preparation of your path for akhirah. So what do you do now? So when you're not around, your salat is stopped, your siyam is stopped, your tasbih is stopped. But those three sources are continue to run for you and give you good deeds, and you're not even around. So the first one, sadaqah jariyah, as you defined it, it's a running jariyah, continue to run, continue to go, kind of sadaqah. Like you mentioned examples like building a masjid, but not everyone can have this opportunity, building or participating in building or providing something for a masjid. If I see the tree and someone sits ahsanti, mashallah, that's a sadaqah jariyah for you. So if you plant a tree, which means if you haven't done that yet, today is a good day to start. You see, when you know that information, that this going to be sadaqah jariyah for me, not only if a human sit under it, if a animal ate from it, if an insect ate from it, if someone even took any branch of it to use for something, if any Muslim that plant anything and any of Allah's creation, human or not human, benefited from, you take a sadaqah out of it. Shade, fruit, leaves, branches, teaching, bringing up our children. That's coming still. We're still in a sadaqah jariyah. See, my sister, there are three things. The children is coming, unless you mean something by the teaching. I'm not sure what you mean by the teaching. Teaching and children are coming yet in the rest of the hadith. We're still in the sadaqah jariyah only, which means you have to be able to differentiate what is sadaqah jariyah and what is ilmun yuntafa'u bihi, why is different from ilmun yuntafa'u bihi, and why is different from waladun salihun yad'u lahu. Fruit tree, mashallah, or other eat. Ahsanti, this is sadaqah jariyah for her. Every time someone picks a fruit from that tree, or as you said, use the shade of that tree, she earns sadaqah. So sadaqah jariyah is a type of a deed that you do now, that its benefit continues for anyone that uses it. Examples: building a masjid, planting a tree, water well, like some of our sisters suggested, printing or buying a good number of books and putting them in schools. It can be English reading books, Arabic reading books, if you want, of course, to invest for your akhirah, if someone will pick these books and learn how to read Quran, so maybe you want to invest in the Arabic. To invest your money, to buy now, with this amount of money, let's say 20 pounds, 30 pounds, this number of books, and put them in a Quran school so they can use it, or any school so they can use it. Every time a child or an adult use the book, you get a sadaqah from that. So that's sadaqah jariyah. So you need to make sure today that you have some or one idea, what are you going to do for this to be checked? Of course, at least one of these, you want them to be checked for you. It's amazing if you can have all the three counting on good deeds on your scales when you're not around, but at least one. So that's the first one. Second one, علم ينتفع به. This is when some of my sisters said teaching or teaching Quran to others or teaching children something. That is the knowledge now. If you're passing on a knowledge, any knowledge, Muhammad ﷺ said, because he didn't say the knowledge, he said علم ينتفع به. So it's the knowledge that anyone that read it or share it or see it, get a benefit out of it. How to cook a meal. Someone that maybe a beginner, a housewife, beginner, and she didn't know how to cook that meal, and you provided a recipe with a picture or in a blog or in any place. You have the recipe written, measured, and this is what you left. So everyone that used the recipe to cook that meal, you get a reward. It's a knowledge. You see, you left a teaching Quran method or book, or even if you taught someone and that someone continued to teach others, that's ilmun yuntafa'u bihi for you. So any kind of ilm you leave, you do yourself. So this is different than the first example. The first example had what? You printed books that you didn't author, or you bought books you didn't author, sorry, for the purpose that other people to benefit from them. In here, it's a knowledge you have. So many of us have different types of knowledge about cooking, about feeding a little baby, about cleaning a home, or making a meal, or nursing, or even in medicine. In any branch of knowledge, you leave something. So if you write down now, if I pass knowledge to someone else, if I can do it today, or at least start working on it today, what would that be? If you pay expenses for a student who studies in the path of ilm, that's the first kind. That's sadaqah jariyah. You see, you're leaving knowledge. You see, you are leaving knowledge. You are leaving something that others benefit from, that you made up, that not made up, that you had expertise in doing, and now they are benefiting. If you pay expenses for a student, then a sadaqah jariyah for you, because they are benefiting of that money for all their own education. So that's sadaqah jariyah for you. No, it doesn't have to be linked to the deen, because it's a benefit. You see, the tree, planting the tree didn't have anything to do related very clearly to the deen, like to salat or zakat or siyam. Planting a tree doesn't have anything to do directly. People are going to pick food and eat it, right? So it can be any type of knowledge, as long as it's a beneficial knowledge, someone that will read it, will look at it, will figure out what to do next, then they got the benefit, then you get the reward. Then your count of good deed still continues.
So Ustada, does that mean the second category is different to the first?
Yes, because Muhammad said, "Oh," in between them. So this or that. So each one of them is different than the other.
And is it a type of charity?
What do you mean by a type of charity?
Like knowledge by which people derive benefit. Is it just known as that category on its own? It's different to a type of charity. Is it like, for example, the first one is sadaqah jariyah, and the knowledge by which people derive benefits, is this a type of charity as well, or but just not known as sadaqah jariyah? That makes sense.
If it's a type of charity, this is included in the sadaqah jariyah. علم ينتفع به is a knowledge that people look at it, see it, follow it, and benefit from it. So it can be a book you buy. You wanted a book to learn how to crochet, let's say, because that's important for your family, more economy for your family that you do that. So the author of that book made the book, put it to print, you found a copy, you bought it with anything like X number of pounds, and then you're using it. You're using the knowledge inside to benefit your own life, to better your own life. They get a reward out of that. Yes, teaching kids, teaching kids to crochet, teaching kids to cook simple meals, so they can, if you're not around, if no adult are around, they can simply pick something, a sandwich, a spread, and make something for themselves, so they can, that is something you're leaving with them, so they can help themselves. Say if you have been teaching, do you still? Okay, my sister, what of course, the answer is yes. The answer is you get benefit and you get rewarded out of teaching someone something not directly related to Islam, but it is related to Islam in general. You know why? Because it's a piece, it's a knowledge spreading around. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls those that have knowledge ulul ilm. So if it's knowledge, you spread. It doesn't have to be exactly Quran or exactly Hadith, but if you look at the Quran and the Hadith, they have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks in the Quran about stars, and talks about oceans, and talks about sea animals, and talks about animals in general. You see, it's the same book, but it talks about all type of knowledge, right? So if you spread and if you teach any of these knowledge that can help someone better their life, better their understanding, then it's ilmun yuntafa'u bihi. You left a pamphlet, you left a booklet, a few blogs that teach something that people can Google quickly. How do I make this? And found. How do you make it? When you were the author. You see, does that make sense? Okay. Building schools. So the question is, it has to be Quran school, any school, because you're helping educating a child that's going to read, write, get knowledge. If you participated in building school, it's a sadaqah jariyah for you. If you have a book that you authored that those children can benefit, then it's ilmun yuntafa'u bihi. If you're participating in building the school and you bought other books, then it's still sadaqah jariyah for you, but in two different categories, but it's still sadaqah jariyah. Important to make the intention of getting the reward. This is another sister asked the same question. So you leaving this now, if you're aware that you're leaving this knowledge. So today you got this awareness. If I leave anything that I'm very good at to someone else to benefit from, this can continue, the reward of that can continue after my death, after I'm not around. So based on that information, you did that good deed. So that is the intention you have. But what if you already did that? You already authored the book, or you already have taught others how to do. Does that count for your good deeds? Yes, it does. Because it's still the same. It's ilmun yuntafa'u bihi. It's a knowledge to benefit others. Does that answer your question? My sister, can you share your name, please? Because it's okay if you don't, if you're not comfortable with that, but you got my answer. My sister that asked the last question. Ahsanti. Okay, yes, it can. Yes, books that teach how to make something with their hands. Yes, of course, it can. You see, Muhammad Sallam summed it up with just saying knowledge that is to benefit. Someone benefits from this knowledge in any way. So if what you got in your hand or the blog or the book is to show you how to make a pillowcase, and you needed that for your home, you see? So that author gets the reward because you helped them or they helped you improving your life. So this is a knowledge. So ilmun yuntafa'u bihi is a big category, but it has to be something you do, you pass along to benefit others. Okay, good question. If a person that is not Muslim and they pass on good knowledge that people benefit from until this day, what is their are they going to be rewarded for it? They're going to the type of the reward is not Jannah and Nar type of reward, because if you ask them at that moment when they're making this knowledge, do you believe in Allah? Do you know that there is Jannah and Nar? And they didn't do anything for him. They don't believe in him, but they still have that knowledge. Their reward is that they're going to still mentioned, praised in this life. Everyone that used that invention is going to praise them, is going to mention them with goodness, as long as they're using their invention or book or knowledge. That is the reward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving them. But in Akhirah, they only get what they did for Akhirah, for Allah. If they thought about him one day, then this is what they get. If they did it, if they prayed once, if they denied Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how come are they expecting a reward from him on Akhirah, like a Jannah reward, if they didn't do anything for him? You see? Exactly. Even after they're gone, their reward is to the continual praise and use of their books, knowledge, inventions, any kind of knowledge to help others. Even if you did it, if you started it with intention of just having something good, having printing a book, yes, ahsanti. But if you did it now or today, after you learned that, then you do it for the sake of having that knowledge after you're not around. So now you have the intention, but if you already started it from before, then still, of course, is going to continue getting your rewards. Okay, so that's ilmun yuntafa'u bihi. So sadaqa jariyah done, ilmun yuntafa'u bihi done. Waladun salihun yad'u lahu. Waladun, a child. صالح. You can say, of course, and maybe you already are saying that righteous. صالح can mean righteous, but righteous doesn't give you what is it that this person is doing. But I'll explain in a second. يدعو له, calls or invites or prays for him, for the man or the lady that are not around, that died already. So they have waladun salih. What is salih or what is salah? Salah in Arabic comes as the opposite of fasad. Fasad is corruption. Salah is mending, fixing, repairing. So when you do a deed that spread goodness around you and people will be tempted to copy what you did, that is salah. If someone does a deed that spread corruption, that's fasad. So Muhammad ﷺ said any walad, doesn't mean it doesn't have to be a boy walad. Walad can be for both. Walad can be for a child, a girl or boy. That condition is salih, that they do good deeds. This walad salih, yad'u lahu, prays for the person that passed. So every time this child of yours say, oh Allah, grant my mother Jannah. Oh Allah, forgive my mom for what she did. Oh Allah, and they call Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you or to grant you Jannah, your deeds still continue based on their dua. Okay, so how do we do that? Some people think, okay, how am I going to do that? Am I going to leave a will, for example, pray for me every day? A very simple and nice way to do that is to teach them now to pray for your parents. That you say, exactly, teach them. So you say, if for example, one of your parents are not around, so you say, ask Allah to forgive grandma, ask Allah to forgive grandpa, and tell them why you're doing this. So it become part of their prayer after they finish at-tahiyyatu lillahi was-salawatu wat-tayyibat, and after they say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, and after they say, oh Allah, and we ask refuge from the 4 things we learned 2 weeks ago. They say, oh Allah, admit my grandma or grandpa to Jannah. So when you teach them that now, high chance they're going to teach those children to do the same for them, and they're going to do the same for you when you're not around. Ahsanti, yes, salih and salah, opposite to fasad. So when you do amal salih, it means it has that to it, that is to repair, to fix. So what you need to plant and to educate your children to do is first to be salih, to always think what is best. Is it to be upset at my brother or forgive? Is to teach my brother to do this better or to be upset with them? So when you always give them a choice to be wise and to be kind and to think about their consequence in akhirah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will write this a good deed for you, and you know good deed multiplies. So you get lots of it. And little by little, always talk about it, always reinforce it. Ask them to pray for parents that are not around. That will continue happening for you. So you get reward for them praying for your parents if your parents are not around. And of course, they'll continue praying for you. The parents still get rewarded from their good actions. You mean that they taught them? Maybe. You see here now we can put it together. So my sister's saying, if they didn't pray for them, do the parents still get rewarded from what the children do anyway? So the answer is, your child is your deed. Do you see? That's why Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam made 2 things here. He said, salih. Salah, that salah that you plant in your child is what's going to continue giving you good deed. It's your child, himself or herself, they are your deed. And we know that from the story when Nuh alayhi salam asked about his son, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, take your family and the ship, and his son refused to go. So after the whole thing settled, he went and he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, my son is from my family. Like, how come he wasn't saved? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, take your family, and your family is going to be saved, but he is my family. So Allah's answer to him was, he is not a good deed. So he talks about the son, and he said, he is not a good deed. إِنَّهُ عَمَلٌ غَيْرُ صَالِحٍ. So if you think about it like that, that your son or daughter is your deed, because this is what you're doing with them, then everything you teach them is going to be in your scales. If they pray for you, then it's your own deeds getting more and more as they pray. But everything they do that you taught now falls under a second category. You taught them something. So I hope that's clear. So your son or daughter are your deeds, or your children are your deeds. What kind of deeds are they? It's up to you. You have to put salah in them. You have to see what is it that you do that makes them salih, and maybe what is it that you do that is turning them to the other side without you wanting. So you have to fix that to turn them into salih. So this is the end of the hadith. What do we learn from the hadith? I will sum up, and then each one share, please, if you have a reflection or a question. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this hadith is telling us that when we are not around, our deeds can continue. But as well, we learn from the hadith that other than those three deeds, everything stopped. Everything. Salat, siyam, tasbih, zakat, smiling, giving charity, all that stopped, except those three. You can invest in all the three now, or at least one. Try to aim for all the three if you can, so that continue growing and continuous deeds for yourself. Sadaqah jariyah is a type of sadaqah that it continues to benefit others and continues to run, like building of a masjid, building of a hospital, building of a school, buying and distributing or giving books to learn. You don't have to be the author of those books, but you're giving them to others to learn in schools or classrooms. A water well, a tree. So plant the seed today. What is the seed that you want to plant? Where are you going to plant it? And work on it today. So علم ينتفع به, and knowledge that you pass on that has benefit to others. Or ولد صالح يدعو له. Condition here the salah of your child, because the salah of your child is because you put that salah in them. So therefore, that will continue to give you good deeds as they go, and if they as well pray for you, like Muhammad said. So you get the deeds or the continuous deeds in here from two sources: from the salah of your child and from praying for you. Okay, I'm not sure. From my sister that sent me the message, is it what you're saying, salah or salah? What is the word? You mean salah as prayer, or salah as the word we're talking? The prayer, to establish the prayer. Okay. Okay, so there is a question about children in a certain age when they are a teenager and they are having a challenge to pray. You continue guide. Don't threaten, sorry. Don't say if you don't pray, you go to nar. You like this, you're thinking you're scaring them. But the more they scare, the more they are away from it. Some people, little fear can drive them into the deed, and others, fear can drive them away from it. So encourage, reward, talk, ask for explanation, help. Like, okay, every time I pray, if you need a help, I will call for you to pray, or put reminder. If you make those numbers of prayers, you get this amount of reward. Like some parents have a hard time accepting this concept. I'm rewarding them for their prayer. No, you're rewarding them for them keeping the habit, not that they prayed. The reward for the prayer is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you are rewarding the habit. So when you have the habit, you're going to get this reward, something beautiful that they like. An outing with you, for example, special time. So always encourage, always put the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why do they pray? Because they want to talk to him, they want to connect with him. They want to read Surat al-Fatiha, and Surat al-Fatiha is actually a dialogue or a conversation between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Are we aware? I'm assuming we are aware of that. Fatiha, which is what you read in every rak'ah, is actually a conversation between you and Allah, right? We know that. Okay, one said yes. Okay. So if you teach them that dialogue, that conversation through Surat al-Fatiha, they will want to pray every time for that dialogue to take place. So more connect them with mercy and the reason, rather than threaten or say you are not praying, so this will be happening to you, or you're not praying, that's why your deeds are not blessed and your life is not blessed. When we do that, we think we're doing something good. We're trying to get them to pray, but with fear. Try to avoid fear and put more the hope and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Does that answer, my sister? Or at least helps? Okay. وإياكم. Okay, so this is the end of the first hadith. It doesn't have to be money or any tangible gifts. It's okay. You're not rewarding them with money for the prayer. You have to make that clear for yourself and for them. You're giving them money for what exactly? Not for their prayer, for as they may use it as this. And that's why you need to make it clear. You're not paying them to pray. You are rewarding them for keeping the habit. So if you keep the prayer for 2 weeks, you see, you don't reward per day, because what is it that they need in order to continue praying? They need to establish 21 days at least to do the same thing, to continue their prayer for 21 days straight. If they do that, it will become part of the routine and it will be hard for them to leave it. So just make that chart, 21 days straight. If you do that, you get that reward. It can be money, it can be a gift of any kind. That's it. If they do the 21 days and they fill their chart, you give them the reward. It is not for every day you pay money. It's not like that. I hope I'm clear. Because my sister has a reason. She said, if you continue to pay because they pray, so if you stop, they will stop. You're not paying for the prayer or paying daily. You're setting a target. You're saying, if you continue your prayer for 2 weeks straight without missing a prayer, or 3 weeks straight without missing a prayer, then you get this type of reward. Then every day you help them filling the chart. They finish the chart, they get actually 2 rewards. They get the establishment of the habit and the reward from you. And then you leave them after that. After that, they may stop for a prayer or 2, but they will feel something is missing because they established already a habit. So inshallah, they continue and it will be hard for them to stop. Is that clear, my sister? Okay, alhamdulillah. Questions or reflections regarding the first hadith? Okay, we're going to talk about one more hadith and then talk about surat Yousof, inshallah. So next one is really important in your path for akhirah, and you will see why in a second. So this hadith is Sahih al-Bukhari. You can see here, I'll try to put the translation in the middle so you see both sides. So it's in Sahih al-Bukhari, and this is the reference. In this hadith, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, first Adi ibn Hatim, radiyallahu anhu, and if you don't know Hatim, Hatim wasn't a believer. Actually, he died before Islam, before the Ba'ath of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Adi is his son. Adi embraced Islam. Hatim was known before Islam for what? Who knows Hatim around here? Hatim al-Ta'i. You can see the hadith. Okay, I'll try again. I think the hadith is on the screen. My sisters, are we able to see the hadith? Hadith Bukhari 6539 on the screen. Okay. Okay, any of you know Hatim? Who's Hatim? Hatim al-Ta'i. No, he died before the Prophet ﷺ was even born. And he wasn't leading in Mecca. He used to live outside Mecca. The generous man. Okay, Ahsanti. Hatim was very, very generous. He used to be known with his generosity. If you are a guest of Hatim, you will be very, very well treated. Food, accommodation, drinks. He was known with that. And Adi is his son. So Adi ibn Hatim said, قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet said, ما منكم من أحد إلا وسيكلمه الله يوم القيامة. Each one of you. So because the ma and the illa means everyone. ما منكم من أحد. Every one of you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will speak to him on the day, or her, of course, on the day of judgment. Okay, take that in a little bit, please, before rushing to what's after. I'm taking it slow for you to hear it with me, slow. Each one of you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will speak to on the day of judgment. This is what Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying. And then he said, لَيْسَ بَيْنَ اللَّهِ وَبَيْنَهُ تُرْجُمَانٍ. You won't need a translator. There is no translator between you and Allah. He will speak with you and you will speak to him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, رَبُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَرَبُّ الْعَرْشِ الْعَظِيمِ. No translator between. So while there, standing before Allah and Allah speaking to you, he's saying, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ثُمَّ يَنْظُرُ فَلَا يَرَى شَيْئًا قُدَّامَهُ. You look in front of you and then you don't see anything. And then he said, ثُمَّ يَنْظُرُ بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ فَتَسْتَقْبِلُهُ النَّارِ. Then he looks between his hands, he sees the fire. فَمَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ مِنْكُمْ أَنْ يَتَّقِ النَّارَ وَلَوْ بِشِقِّ تَمْرَةٍ. So whoever of you has the ability to يَتَّقِي, to protect himself. يَتَّقِي is from the verb وَقَى, وِقَايَ, تَقْوَى. يَتَّقِي, to protect himself from the fire, even with a split of a date, then do. So you're standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you look ahead of you, you don't see anything, as Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying. But you look between your hands, which is closer, you see fire. In that situation, you're speaking to Allah and the fire is that close. If you could, in this life, save yourself the fire on that situation with a split of a date, then do. So what does that mean? to give charity. That's general, but can you be more specific? And other sisters, please. What does that mean? If you could save yourself the fire on that situation with a split of a date, like you divide your date into 2 halves and you give a half. You don't even give the full date. You give a half. Even the smallest of gifts. Yes, I hope that you can change the word charity, because charity has the meaning of that you're giving something because you have excess or extra. Charity or giving can mean maybe this is the only thing you have. You see, I would like you please to start adjusting to the word giving than the word charity. Ahsanti, giving. Even little act you do can benefit you. So next time you split the date to give your son or your daughter, because here you see the word charity here can change the course of the hadith. If you split the date, you could give the half to your child. It doesn't mean that you're giving a charity. You could give a half to your sister that's sitting beside you, sister in Islam, in the masjid. You could give someone to someone that is poor, yes, but it doesn't have to be to someone that in need, just to split and to give. So why you're splitting the date now? Imagine that you have a date in your hand and you're splitting it. You're going to give half to the person next to you and you're going to eat the other half. So why are you giving to the next person? Imagine that situation. I'm giving that in order to save myself. You don't have to say those words out loud, but I'm saying this is your intention. This is why you're giving it. Not to be kind only or sweet. No, you're giving because you want in that position when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking to you without a translator and you look between your hand and you see fire, to be protected from fire on that moment because of that split of a date. Of course, you can give so many dates after that with the same intention. So that will grow your chances of not being in the fire. Exactly. Giving something to help. It doesn't have to be charity, because when you think charity, you think given to a poor. But here it didn't say poor at all. It just said what? Oh, I can see why you said charity, because of the translation, sorry. But the word and the hadith didn't say the word charity in it. You see, when Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam speak about sadaqah, he actually say the word sadaqah there. But you're giving, you're splitting the date, you're giving a split to a person, you're eating the other. It can be your daughter, it can be your son, it can be your husband, it can be your sister, your mom, your dad, your friend, you see. Subhanallah, ahsantum. So you got the point of the hadith. This is a huge moment. You are speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah will speak to you, no one in between. You want to be saved at that moment. So the next piece of food you share, think about that moment. Then it's going to be added to your book that you did that gift. You give that date or biscuit or something small, because to be saved. Even giving you time. Ahsanti. This is one of the, it's mentioned in Surat Al-Asr, Tawasaw bil-haqqi wa tawasaw bis-sabr. You're using the time to help someone else. To help a child. It can be your own. To help someone to carry something. It can be your family. Please think or expand your idea of the giving. And it's only 2 minutes before we start surat Yousof. It doesn't have to be something physical. I cannot tell that if it does have to be or it doesn't something, because we have other hadiths, you see, when I was asked about the time, there is a hadith that talks about time, or there is a verse that talks about time. So this is my source of answer, but I cannot make it a rule and say it doesn't have to be or it does. I have to have a proof, my sister Azmina. Help in need, but when you're helping, why are you helping? You see, my sisters, please don't miss the main point. You're remembering the situation. You're remembering that you're going to be before Allah. Then the next decision to help, with time, with a split of a date, with a sandwich, you are intending that help for that moment. You see where it is? It's not what you give, is why are you giving it? Ahsanti, with I. My sister, okay, this is now we are giving dua to someone or making dua to someone, you are rewarded for it, and there's a hadith for that. Yes, there is a hadith for that, and the angels say, and you too. There is a hadith for that, but we're not talking about that. We are opening to other things to be included. You're right, no problem. But why are you doing this? The hadith is highlighting why would you split the date? Why? That is it. If you understand the why, do it. Whether making dua, whether helping with time, with the date, with the sandwich, with the cake, it's up to you. Why? It's never too late. Ahsanti. To save yourself from the fire. You see, to save yourself from the fire on that moment that you're standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and He's talking to you. If that is the next intention for anything you do, then you're rewarded for it. You're going to be saved, inshallah, according to the hadith. So it is not what you give, it's to recall that moment, to recall that intention. I hope I'm making myself clear. Exactly. This is the intention, to be saved from fire. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us all from fire. Allahumma ameen. Something that you possess. Okay, if it's something that you don't possess, how are you going to give from something you don't possess? If I understood that correctly. Is it giving something from what you possess? You're opening a general subject, my sister. Muhammad ﷺ is talking about giving something, even if it's split of a date. But why are you giving it? It is not your possession of it that's highlighted in the hadith. Of course, we can't give to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or for the sake of Allah something that was stolen, because it is not even good. Because something, let's say, stolen or found without purpose, and you give it for Allah's sake. You can't. You don't know the source. You have to go give something good to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that date or that cake or that biscuit have to be halal. So have to be something you own, and you have the ownership that you can share. So I'm not sure, again, if that is the purpose of the question, but I'll have to stop here to look at surat Yousof. What we learn from the second hadith, my sisters, is first, you're going to speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will speak to you with no translator or no one in between. That alone can be what you take away from the hadith. But there is more. Second, when you look between your hands in that moment, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking to you, you'll see fire. Muhammad ﷺ saying, if you could do anything like sharing a half of a date to protect yourself from that fire that you can see, and you're speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do. So the next thing you share, the next thing you give, you put in your child's mouth a piece of food right now with that intention, that will protect you from fire, according to the hadith. So what you need to work on is remembering that. I hope that is clear. Ahsanti, ahsanti. Because of the intention, why you gift it, why you give it. Subhanallah. Okay. Jazakumullahu khairan. Right, so after that, we're looking at Surat Yousof alayhi salam. Ahsant. And this is what we already worked on last week, but here is highlighted with more details about your path, what you're expecting. So are you expecting that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will speak to you on the day of judgment? Yes. You see? So you know what you are expecting and you prepare for that moment. Spend on your family, ahsanti, recalling that. So why are you spending this money? To be saved from fire. This is what you need to remember. That's it. Then you give it for his sake, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then bi'idhnillah, you're granted what Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam promised in the hadith. So in your preparation of the path, what you give today, what you share today with your family, with your friend, recall that intention today for that moment on Day of Judgment. Yeah. Okay, so in Surah Yusuf, we have finished verse 31. I will quickly go through. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. It happened when Imra'atul Aziz, the wife of Al-Aziz, invited all the ladies that spoke about her and said that she loved her boy servant. She prepared a nice, inviting environment for them to sit and eat. She gave each one of them a knife, and she ordered Yusuf alayhi salam to come out to that sitting area where they are. So when they saw him, akbarnahu, they thought, they admired him. They thought that he was, subhanAllah, amazing. And to show us how they were taken by his beauty and how he looked, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and they continue to cut their hand. The word continue isn't there, but the verb qatta'na has a shadda on the ta, and that shadda on the ta give us the impression that it didn't happen once, it kept on happening. And then they say, like when we say, oh, God forbid, or Allah forbids, or beautiful is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is not a human. This is not a human. This is nothing but a malakun kareem, a noble angel. So we continue. So at that moment when she heard that from them, when she saw their hands being cut and cut and cut once and once again, and when they commented like that, this is the point that she wanted to make. So she said, فَذَلِكُنَّ الَّذِي لُمْتُنَّنِ فِيهِ. That is what you blamed me or you spoke about me because of. So that is, can mean that is the person like Yusuf alayhi salam, or can mean that is the issue, that is the reality, that he's that attractive, and you blame me, and you all now did exactly like what I did, like in what she's want to imply with the action. You see what happened to all of you. And then she confessed clearly. She said, and indeed I have seduced him. I have done that, like she's saying it with clear words. And she continued to say, فَاسْتَعْصَمْ. He sought isma. What is isma? Isma is something we all want to have. Isma is a guard for you that prevent you from doing certain things. Your moral, your ethic, but it is more than that, because it's related in Arabic to something like a wall you are establishing. So no one can penetrate or knock that wall down to reach for you. And his i'tisam, Yusuf alayhi salam, is by just saying, no, I'm not part of this. Don't think less of saying no. When just simply no, when you are not agreeing of what's happening. Someone start talking about other people in front of you, and you say, listen, we are here together. We want to leave without mentioning other people in our records. So they say, yeah, you're right, but they continue talking about it. So you can just simply say, okay, listen, I can't do that. Can I excuse myself, or can we change the subject? By saying no, by saying you're not part of it, is your ismah, is your guard. So she's saying that he had the ismah, but that word as well suggested that she can get to him as well if she tried again. So he sought the guard, and as she's suggesting, she can take that guard away with her beauty or affection. And that's why she continued to say, and if he doesn't do what I order him to do, he will be imprisoned. And he's going to be put in disgrace, or be among those that are put in disgrace. So in that verse, few things. First, she tried to make a point in action about what the ladies spoke to her about. She confessed clearly her intention that she hid before in front of her husband. Ahsanti. Support in physical, logical. She wanted to make it all clear. And she's saying he's trying to seek guard and to protect himself, but I'm going to get him, something like that. Astaghfirullah. Yeah, ahsanti. And then she's threatened, and she said, and if he doesn't do, of course, all that happening, and Yusuf alayhi salam is there listening to that because he's still in the room. He will be imprisoned, and he's going to be from those that are disgraced. Type. That is indirect threat because he's there and he's listening. What do you think is going to happen at this moment? Would Yusuf alayhi salam submit to that? After all these threats and confession and thinking and expressing that he has to be doing what he's ordered to do because he is now the servant and she is the lady of the house. What should Yusuf alayhi salam do hearing that? Young man living in a house that's not his, he's actually serving in the house. They are looking after him, they are feeding him, but now the wife has a problem. What he's going to do? Let's see. So he said, he turned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, called for him. Rabbi. And we said in Surat Yousof, Rabbi can mean sometimes, according to the flow, calling upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or calling upon or talking about the master. It could be the king, it could be Al-Aziz himself. We're going to see from the flow. But here, he said, Rabbi, my Lord. He calling Allah. And then, what is the call? As-sijnu ahabbu ilayya. As-sijn is the prison. More beloved to me. So ahabbu, more beloved, or more dearer to me. Ilayya, to me. From what? They are calling me to. He's saying that the prison, or he's saying that to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the prison is more beloved to me from what they are calling me to. What does that give you as extra information about what happened in that room after?
They are calling him to something.
Ahsanti, jazakallah khairan. All the women try to do the same. Ahsanti, not only Imra'atul Aziz. So now he is there, and each lady is trying to get him to do that. And this is what he's saying, يَدْعُونَنِي إِلَيْهِ. They're calling me to. And then he continued, وَإِلَّا تَصْرِفْ عَنِّي كَيْدَهُنَّ. Now he's saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if their plotting and their in the way they are insisting on me. كيدهن أصب إليهن. Then I'm going to incline or be tilted or directed to their way. وأكن من الجاهلين. And then I'm going to be from those that are jahil. Remember when we defined jahl. What is jahl? No, my sister, is not wrong to feel that, of course. It's natural to feel that, don't worry. I'm asking, we learned jahl many sessions ago when we talked about shak and dhann and ilm. We learned jahl. What is jahl? Of course, I'm hoping for answer, but I'm expecting I'm going to get one, but I'm not going to say any expectations. I would trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I get the answer that I'm hoping for. We are trying to define jahl. What is jahl? Because Yousof alayhi salam is saying, if you, Allah, like he's talking to Allah, don't put away from me their kaid, their plotting and them insisting on me, I will for sure go toward them. And I'm going to be from jahilin. What is jahl? False knowledge about something. Oh, mashallah, alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khairan. That's what I was hoping for. Jahl, to be misinformed, to have a knowledge but it's not right about something. That is definition of jahl. And to have the knowledge and not to act upon it. That's a jahl too. So to have the knowledge and ignore it. So someone say, I knew I had to have wudu, but I just didn't, and I went to pray anyway, for example. Or I knew if I drank water and it's Ramadan, that I'm going to, my fast will be invalid, but I drank it anyway. I was very thirsty. You see, so she or this sister or that sister had the knowledge, but she chose voluntarily to ignore it. So ignoring the right knowledge you have is as well jahl. So now he is saying he's going to be in that situation. He has the knowledge and he is by force, by them insisting all and attacking. He is going to be jahil. He's going not to act according to the knowledge he has, and that's going to be a problem. So now he's in a really tight spot. And this is what he is asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for relief. To his relief from that was the sijin at that moment. So I hope that's clear. Questions? We're going to stop there, inshallah, at verse 33. Inshallah, I'm going to upload the lesson as soon as I can. Please listen to the first and second hadith again. Please take note of what the Prophet ﷺ said. Please look at the next action you do, why you do it. If you're working to have something for your akhirah, something to continue your deeds, what is it? Why are you doing it? If you're sharing a food or sharing a meal or sharing a smile, in the next moment, why are you doing it? That is the reason for these lessons, to remind you constantly of that return, and that every step you do, every action you do counts. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us his mercy and protection from fire, Allahumma ameen, and admit us all to Jannah and make us among al-abrar, Allahumma ameen. اللهم إنا نسألك الجنة وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل ونعوذ بك من النار وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل. Have a good day inshallah and have a good week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. جزاك الله خيرا.
وإياكم.